Hey guys, what's going on? Steve DeCasa here, and this is another episode of Ask Steve. This is episode 8. I'm in the YouTube space, just finished shooting a tutorial. I can't wait to show it to you guys, but I had extra time left, and I figured I'd make another episode of Ask Steve. Now, 2 weeks ago, I announced this in a video saying that I was going to unlock the YouTube space and film a tutorial, and I asked my viewers, at the time, 39,000 subscribers, I asked you guys to submit questions like you usually do in my videos and put them in the comments of that video, and that I would answer only those questions in this video. So this is that video. First, let me say right off the bat, thank you so much for commenting. There are a bunch of comments and a bunch of questions out there, and I want to give a shout out to DIYCameraGuy because he has been on point responding to a lot of questions with his own take and his own answers, and I think that's awesome. I think it's a great thing when you can go to like a channel like mine and ask a question and have other people give their 2 cents too. I mean, if you have something wrong with you, you don't really just go to one doctor, you want to go to 2 doctors. Not to say that I'm like a doctor of film or anything, because I'm not. I'm always learning and always improving. So that's why they call it a practice too for doctors. I consider it practice for me as well. But a shout out to DIYCameraGuy. Please go check his channel out and subscribe to him. He seems to know what he's talking about. But since you're here, I'm going to scroll through some questions and answer them for you right now. So I didn't have enough time to go through all the questions beforehand and pick out ones and figure out what I'm going to answer, because my tutorial took a long time to set up and shoot. I also forgot my iPad, so I don't have that in front of me, so I got to use the phone. I feel a little underprepared, but this is the same thing, right? It's all the same words. So I'm just scrolling back to the beginning, and I'm going to work my way towards the more recent questions. So I got a question from Yaser Al-misrea. He or she says, I think it's a he. Welcome back, Steve. We really missed you. I would really like an editing tutorial, the program, the hardware requirements, etc. Just to let you know, I want to be a vlogger and edit my vlogging videos to make them more interesting. Thanks. Thank you for your question. I actually started my YouTube channel doing editing tutorials. To be completely honest, what had happened was that Adobe Premiere, Final Cut Pro X, they are now the new standards. I still edit on Final Cut Pro 7. So I'm way behind the times. Luckily, most of the paying jobs I do are shooting gigs. So I don't really have to worry about editing. I hand that off to an editor. So I admit I'm getting behind the times on editing, and I have to catch up. I have to learn Final Cut Pro X. I have to learn Adobe Premiere. Luckily, my business partner in my production company, Rethink Films, Cody, he's an amazing editor. He's a better editor than me. He edited his short film, The Homeless, which you can check out online soon. And if it's online now, I'll annotate to it here. So I used to do editing tutorials on Final Cut Pro 7, but once Pro 7 sort of went the way of the dodo, I decided to switch my channel towards more general filmmaking. That's where the 3-point lighting video comes from, product reviews come from, Filmmaking 101 series, the DSLR basic settings things. So I kind of stay away from tutorials involving editing programs because the technology is always changing. And there's always going to be a better program. They're constantly being updated and improved. So my suggestion to you would be find whatever you can get your hands on, whatever you can afford, and learn the program to the best you can. And if you feel like the program is not doing what you need it to do, then go ahead and investigate other programs like After Effects or things that are more catered towards more advanced editing. But for someone doing vlogging, something like iMovie should be fine. You don't really need to get that more crazy than that. Final Cut Pro X is a more advanced version of iMovie, so you could hop into that. But anything more than that, like Premiere or Avid, is just going to be too advanced for vlogging. So that's my suggestion for that. Now, I mentioned in my announcement video from 2 weeks ago that I was going to do my tutorial on the light meter. So one of the questions I got from Victor Nguyen is, wow, I'm so happy that someone is going to talk about the light meter. Can you talk about lighting ratios too, like ratio for key versus fill side of the face, ratios for the background versus object of focus? I do talk about this a lot in the tutorial. So if that's up, I'll annotate to it here. If it's not, stay tuned for it. Please subscribe and you'll see me talk about those things there. But just as a quick recap, what I've learned in terms of lighting ratios, it really depends on your camera. Your eyes see better than cameras see. So depending on what you're going to do in post, depending on if you're going to do more of a high dynamic range, or depending on if you want a moody look, cameras are much less sensitive. Even a 2-stop difference from the key to the fill side on camera can be the difference between seeing detail and being completely in the dark. So you want to get to know your camera. When I first started doing short film, I was using the 5D Mark II, and it had a very shitty contrast ratio. So when I wanted to get even a moody-ish look, I would be 2/3 of a stop different at the most. A full stop difference between key and fill was way too contrasty for what I was going for. So it's tough. It's tough. If you're working on something like the Red, where you have raw, much more dynamic range, you can just hit it with a key, and in post bring up the fill if you need, bring up the mids or whatever. But you can still see into the blacks way better using a Red or a C500, C300, or recording directly to ProRes. So once again, it depends on the camera. It depends on how much into the blacks you can see. If you're shooting on film, film looks really good in living in the blacks. Ratios for the background versus the thing that's in focus, it's just about blown out or too dark. You know what I mean? Once again, it works the same key fill. If you go back into the background and take a look, and it's telling you it's an f2 reading and you're up here and it's an f5.6, on a DSLR or even C100, C300, that's too much of a difference. That's like 3 stops or something. No, 2 stops, f2, f2.8, that's 3 stops. It's gonna look really dark back there. So I like to keep things within, depending on the camera. If I'm shooting DSLR, I like to keep things within a stop, 2 stops of each other, unless I'm going for something really moody. Brenda Limon says, can you explain how to calculate light ratios? Thanks. I think the answer that I just gave answers that as well. V1NCN7 says, you seem to be working with expensive professional cameras. Imagine a budget of about $1,500 American. Which camera equipment would you choose to shoot with and why? I actually responded to that right away. I said, is that for renting? Is it $1,500 to rent something? Or is it $1,500 to buy something? And I said, you could rent a decent amount of stuff with $1,500. Can't really buy much with $1,500. And V1NCN7 says, I meant purchasing. Didn't think about renting. I think both would be interesting. It says, for a low-budget hobbyist video production, what would be a must-buy in your experience? What is essential for good video and worth the money? More expensive body versus lens? What about audio? Do I need an extra audio recorder, or is my camera input audio fine? DIYCameraGuy responded to this, and he recommends spending your money on audio. I tend to agree with DIYCameraGuy. If you are going to spend money on purchasing something, audio is a good way to go. But this guy says he is a low-budget hobbyist video production. If you're doing random video production work, you can't make a video without a camera, so you are going to need a camera. So first and foremost, you can't make a video if you don't have a camera. Now, if it's something you're going to be doing all the time, every weekend you're going to go out there and shoot something recreational, something only for you, whatever you want to do, you want to go and shoot it. Having a camera makes much more sense than going out and buying one. So with $1,500, you can't do much, but I would maybe purchase a used Canon 7D or a 7D Mark II that's coming out, something around those lines, something a mid-range DSLR level. With a kit lens, you could probably find something for around $1,500 with all tax included and stuff. You could probably also find a used 5D Mark II. I still own mine, so it's been a workhorse for me. But if you're just going to be doing things randomly, whatever, a used mid-range DSLR and a kit lens, something like an 18 to 55, 3.5 to 5.6, although that might only be able to go on the 7D, not the 5D. Or 28 to 135, 3.5 to 5.6, that's a good lens. It's a very sharp lens at f8. That was my first lens when I got the 5D. But if you already have a video camera, something you're just using to knock around, audio is definitely a place where you can up your production quality. You learn it first day in film school. Sound is more important than picture. People will forgive a lower quality image. They'll forgive that. They see it, they understand. I can work with it. I know what I'm looking at, it's fine. Doesn't matter how crystal clear your imagery is, if the sound is too hot, or if it's too low, or if it's raspy, crackly, or if there's stuff blasting in the background, honking and things, and you can't get rid of it, audiences will not be able to forgive that. We learn to hear before we learn to see, I guess. I don't know. But it is much harder to forgive sound problems than it is to forgive poorer image quality. Here's one from Milkman. He says, I have a disposable income from being medically retired from the military and also from the GI Bill. So with this great opportunity to get paid to go to school with some side cash flow, what would you recommend that person to do if he feels like video production is his calling? Like, I'm talking, what is step one? I would love some direction. I even responded to him and said that it was a great question. I was definitely going to answer it. First of all, thank you so much for your military service, and I hope you're okay. I hope you're doing well. Here is my number one answer for this question. I do get this question pretty often. It's sort of like, what do I do? It kind of goes the same route as like, what camera should I buy? Or, you know, where should I start? Here's the answer. Go make something. That's it. Get whatever you can get your hand on. Get your iPhone, anything. Make a project, make something. Just go do it. It sounds kind of crazy, but like that's all you really need to do. You need to sit down and say, I want to make something. I want to do a film about this or that or anything. Or I want to go out and film birds. Just go out and film anything. Anything that piques your interest. Doesn't matter how stupid it is. Doesn't matter how boring you think it is, or if it's going to pique anyone else's interest but your own. Take a camera, take any camera you can find, anything you can get your hands on, an iPhone, anything, and go out and just film anything. Anything. Something will hit you, something will inspire you. And the best way to figure this out and the best way to learn it is to go and do it. You're going to make mistakes. Everyone's going to make mistakes. You're going to make something and you're going to think it's awesome. You're going to show somebody and they're going to point things out to you and be like, oh my God, that's true. I didn't think of that, blah, blah, blah. And it's just going to be a little bit at a time. You're going to use the iPhone first and you're going to play with it. It's going to be great. Then you're going to tinker around with this little camera. Then you're going to go, oh my God, I never realized with this camera, it's different from the iPhone because of this. I like that better. You're going to evolve. You're going to find your way. You're going to find one brand of camera and you're going to experiment with another brand of camera. Oh, maybe I'll shoot with this kind of camera now. And I'm starting to see the differences now. This one is a little bit darker, a little bit more moody. This one's got a little bit more of a crisp feel. This one, the 24 frames per second doesn't really look so good. This one, it looks really good. It looks like a film. You're going to pick up audio gear. You're going to use this mic. You're going to put the mic here. You're going to put the mic there. It's like, you know what? I did that one video and the audio was shit. It was horrible. So now I learned my lesson. Now next time I do it, I got to get a better mic. I got to have better mic placement. Just go make it. Just make mistakes. It's fine. You're going to learn as you go. You're going to evolve. And you're going to look back on the stuff that you've made with nostalgia. You'll look back at it and go, God, that was awful. Like my thesis film. You're going to look back at it and you're going to go, God, that was awful, but look how much I know now. Or you're going to look back and go, you know what, that was actually pretty good. Either way, you're going to benefit. Either way. So step one is to go make something. And let's say you do decide you want to go to a film school. You'll have more experience than the other students there because you'll have already been making things. Because that's really all film school is just somebody telling you to go make this. It's like, yeah, they'll hand you a camera. Yeah, they'll hand you some audio gear and they'll say, make me a movie about one of the 7 deadly sins. That was one of my first projects. Or go out and interview somebody on the street. Just go find somebody on the street and interview them. Talk to them. It's like, oh shit, like there's nobody putting that pressure on you when you don't have a school, when you don't have a teacher. So do it yourself. Come up with something to do yourself. I like to play golf, so maybe I'll go down to the local driving range, bring my camera, talk to a few people. Or you could, talk to a few people and record it on your iPhone on like a voice message, but then shoot camera work of them driving on the driving range. Made a little film. It's really, the world is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. Whatever you have interest in, you can go and film it and come up with your own spin to it. Film school is great because you have access to cameras and you have access to the professionals who can tell you the precise way to use the gear and stuff. But I would behoove you to not worry about the learning before the doing. I think you should be doing and learning as you go. You can watch every single film out there. You can read every single filmmaking book. You could watch every single filmmaking tutorial on YouTube, but you won't ever really know what it's like until you go out there and you set a goal for yourself and you go out there and you make it happen. So that's my answer, Milkman. Let's move on. Chuck Boren III. I have a Sony DCR TRV 480 digital 8 camera that works great, but I can't upload the tape to any of my newer laptops. No FireWire ports, just USB 3. How do I get this done? What do I need to upload to my laptop? Help! Google it, you'll find it. I'm not a techie kind of person. I used to answer questions like this. I used to give my response and stuff, but it gets very techie and boring and nobody seems to benefit from it. The only one who benefits from it is you because you're having a very specific problem. What I've noticed when I have a very specific techie problem is I Google, I read forums, I play around with it, and eventually I figure it out. So I'm sorry I'm not going to answer you too specifically, but good luck, you'll figure it out. Milkman actually commented again. He said, or how about this? If you were just starting your video production journey and you had a scholarship to almost any school and you have a considerable income from it, what would you do to start out? I hope this makes sense to you. I went to a college last semester to start my career and I was totally underwhelmed. I need direction from a pro. Like I said just a minute ago, school can be underwhelming. Just go make things. Just go and make it. Go now, go and post it. Share it with me, and I'll watch it, and I'll tell you, I'll critique it for you, for free. When you do make something, send it to me, or message me, and I'll watch it somehow. Just get in touch with me. You'll figure it out. Michael Veritas. I wonder if that's his real name. Michael Veritas says, I would love an advanced lighting tutorial. I'm going for that cinematic look, and I know how important lighting is, so any advice you have would be much appreciated. Thanks, Steve. Don't put so much emphasis on cinematic look. It's like a myth. It's like a phoenix. It's a unicorn. You're not going to be able to achieve it. Go watch my 3-point lighting tutorial right here. Where's the negative space? Go right here. Watch the 3-point lighting tutorial. That's really all you need to know. The 3-point lighting is your home base. Everything is built upon that. If I were to give you just quick cinematic tips, I'd say shallow focus, and if you want to know how to achieve shallow focus, go to my DSLR basic settings tutorial. It's right there at the end. Camera movements are always really good. Dollies, steady cams, crane shots, you know, advanced ways to move the camera always look really good. Where I would say to be careful with it is don't do the camera move just for the sake of doing the camera move. If you want to hear more about that, check out Ask Steve episode 7 with Cody, where we talk about filmmaking advice. A camera move has to be motivated. There needs to be a reason why the camera is moving. I can get into examples if you'd like. Comment below if you'd like to hear more about it, but you could definitely watch the last Ask Steve episode. And backlight. If you can get backlight, I spent 20 minutes getting this perfect, because back here my head was too bright, and you know, so I have a flag. I spent some time making my shoulders look real nice. So backlight. If you can get backlight on them, you've done your job. Or hair light. You can call it hair light. I don't have any hair, I know. So shallow focus, camera movements, backlight. I really like those 3 things if you're going for like cinematic stuff. Or of course, I guess a number 4 would be shadows. Feel free to play around with the shadows. I know I said 3-point lighting, but you do just a key, no fill, and a backlight, that could look pretty good. So, but you have to know what key, fill, and hair are if you want to talk about it with people. So that's why the 3-point lighting tutorial is a good home base, good foundation. Save the Dog says, it's about time. I've missed your tutorials. They're some of the best out there. Love you. Thank you. Here we go. Oh my God. Salahshour. Fouad Salahshour says, hi Steve, great tutorials. I want to know your idea about Magic Lantern's firmware. I have 5D Mark III and I want to shoot in RAW if it doesn't damage my camera. Thanks. DIYCameraGuy responded to this and he is all about the Magic Lantern. He doesn't use the cameras without Magic Lantern. Interesting, interesting. Here's my philosophy of Magic Lantern. If you don't know what Magic Lantern is, it is a sort of like a hack. Now I've never done it. I've only known people who have had it done. I've asked them questions about it. You download it to a memory card, you put it in your camera, and like the camera boots off the memory card and it's like a whole new like operating system type thing. If you watch the light meter tutorial right here, if it's not up, wait for it. But if you watch a light meter tutorial, I talk about the differences between DSLRs and video cameras. One of the big differences is zebra bars, which is a way to tell what parts of your frame are overexposed or not. DSLRs don't have that. Magic Lantern gives it to you by hacking the firmware. It also gives you other video type things like peaking and stuff like that, like turning the LCD screen black and white, things like that. I've never done it because I'm too scared to do it, because if you do it, I've heard that it can mess up your camera, it can brick your camera. I've heard horror stories. For what I'm doing with the 5D, I don't need it. To be honest, I'm good enough without it. I don't need peaking because I know when I'm in focus by looking at it. I'm a seasoned pro. I've been shooting video since 2003. So what is that, 12 years? So I know when I'm in focus. Exposure, I have my tricks that I use to get my exposure correct, not needing zebras. Some of the other things Magic Lantern does is apparently you can record in RAW to the CF card, I guess. I'm not sure. That scares me because there can be an overheating issue. It's just like, to me, it's like you're forcing the camera to do things that it wasn't designed for, and I feel like it will decrease the life of your camera. You're probably able to get some really amazing footage because it's RAW and you can work with it in post and have some really good stuff, but you're probably only going to have the camera for, I don't know, a fifth of the time that you would normally have it for. I've had my 5D Mark II since 2010. It's 2015 now. It's 5 years. It's still going strong. It still works great. But if I had it in 2010 and put the firmware in it and used it really a lot using the firmware and heating up the sensor and stuff, it probably wouldn't have lasted long. Probably would have only lasted half the time. So you have the life of your camera. And plus what I'm doing with the 5D is more just live event coverage, maybe a sketch here and there. I'm not needing to do anything with the camera that's going to need advanced color correction. I'm not trying to shoot a feature-length movie with it or a short film that needs like a really pro color grade to it. I don't need the best image quality because most of the stuff I'm shooting on it is going to be just on the internet. It's not like it's going to be screened in a theater. So if you're going for top-notch picture quality, if you're going for just something that is just amazing, that is going to be screened, or it's going to be like bodybuilding of video production, give the Magic Lantern a shot. If you're doing hobbyist vlogger stuff, or live event stuff, or if you want your camera to last a long time and be a workhorse, then maybe stay away from it. Those are my 2 cents. DIY Camera Guy, not only does he comment and give people some information and his own expertise, he actually asked a question too. I would like you to give a quick tour of the YouTube studio. That would be interesting. That's a great idea. Unfortunately, I have to leave in an hour and a half, so I have to finish this up and then break all this stuff down and get out of here. But I will be doing another shoot here next month, and I will have that on my brain for the next time. But he does ask a question. What is the costliest mistake you have ever made as far as equipment purchases go? What is the costliest mistake you have ever made as far as equipment purchases go? That's a good one. To me, a costly mistake is buying something that's a lot of money that you never use, or that doesn't pay for itself through getting jobs with it. What I thought might have been my costliest mistake was my full glide cam rig. I had bought the sled portion, which is just the counterbalance part of a glide cam. If you don't know what a glide cam is, look it up, G-L-I-D-E-C-A-M. I have a tutorial on how to balance one right here. But then I went ahead and I bought the vest and the arm, and at first I didn't use it. It was a lot of money, and at first I wasn't using it, but I've had it for a couple of years, and the good thing is that it lasts for a long time. Like whenever I want to use it, I break it out. So at first I thought that was a costly mistake, but I have been using it more and more. In fact, I just did a job 2 weeks ago with the full rig, and I charged them about half of what the thing cost anyway. So it's definitely made its money back. So to me, a costly mistake in terms of purchasing something is, did I make money on it? Was it a good investment? And I'd like to say that I'm pretty frugal. I don't like purchasing things. I made a video a couple years ago saying that I was gonna buy the Mark III. I was gonna buy it. I ended up not buying it. I am just very, very aware of where I'm putting my money, and I will only spend the money if I really think that I'm gonna use it and I'm gonna need it. I've worked for people in the past that should have been paying their employees what they deserve, but instead was buying lens after lens, after thing, after gadget, after gadget. My boss would come in and be, hey, check out this cool lens I just bought, or come out, check this fucking weird a $2,000 thing that I'm going to use only once a day or whatever, that I don't really need. Whereas they should have been spending the money on the employees, keeping them happy. So one of the problems with the video production industry is that it really feeds in on a guy, specifically a male, attraction towards gadgets and keeping things and having all these cool stuff. I'm not like that. Whenever I have money or whenever there's going to be a big production and we get a budget, we rent stuff. We don't go crazy renting stuff. We know exactly what we're going to shoot. We know exactly what we're going to need, and we rent just that much. Sometimes if you don't have something when you could have used something, you get creative. And sometimes when you get creative, you get a better product than you would have if you have every gadget in the world. So I actually like the idea of having less stuff. It forces you to be creative and it forces you to think outside the box. DIY camera guy, I'm trying to give you an example of something I shouldn't spend my money on. It's not a film purchase, but years and years ago, I begged my parents to get me the Sega 32X. To this day, that's the first thing that came to mind when I read that question. What's the costliest mistake you ever made? The 32 fucking X. Ari Voutilainen says, "Hi Steve, thanks for your great tutorials. They have been extremely useful for a beginner like myself." You're welcome. For your Ask Steve series, I have a real power question. What kind of power system do you use yourself for all different battery-powered equipment? I get a power question. Very punny. Have you found an ultimate solution standardizing batteries, chargers, etc.? To me, it seems that even the best equipment seem to sometimes have toy-like batteries and chargers, and of course, are all different. That's true. I have an LED light that uses Sony batteries, and of course, my Canon camera uses Canon batteries. I haven't really spent much time trying to figure that all out. It does become a pain in the ass, but luckily I don't have many gadgets that I own that have all these sorts of different batteries. I mean, except for like AA batteries. But it's good to keep in mind when you are buying something. A lot of things that are on the market, like external monitors and stuff, have plates that you can put on the back that will take your Canon camera batteries or your Panasonic batteries or whatever. So it's good to keep that in mind so that when you buy something like that, you get the plate that you use for the camera batteries you have. That way you can justify 2 more batteries of your Canon batteries because they all work together. About 2 years ago when I was just starting with the Red, I really, really wanted there to be a way to power the Red using Canon camera batteries. Like for instance, there's a way to use an Anton Bauer battery with a particular tap that goes into the Red, or the Red bricks that go into the Red. And I would love it if there was a box that you could put like 6 Canon camera batteries, the LPE6 batteries, and that the wire coming out was an Anton Bauer tap. That would be awesome. I searched and searched, and I even tried to like make one myself, and no one's thought about it, no one's talking about it, and it doesn't exist. So if somebody wants to go invent that, I will buy it, and you're welcome for the idea. iPaulify says, "Hey Steve, glad to see you're back, man." Yes. "I'd love to see videos regarding lighting for interior and exterior night scenes. Cheers." Now for night scenes, the classic thing to do is to mix up your color temperatures. Where is your light source? If you're sitting on a porch and there's some sort of a light source behind you, you know, if they're sitting behind you, then you can have a backlight that's 3200 degrees, and you could have a, you know, fill light that is 5600 degrees, and find somewhere to balance the white balance, and you have this mixed color temperature. So usually my advice for night scenes, interior or exterior, is playing around with the with mixing the color temperatures and seeing what reads as day, what reads as night, and just having fun with it. Just keep playing, keep experimenting. Gabriel Sánchez says, "Good to have you back. Really looking forward to the light meter tutorial. I know some people love light meters and others think it's not needed. I just use my camera meter, so I want to know your opinion." The light meter tutorial is about the camera meter. It's about using the light meter inside the camera to get your exposure. I do talk about spot meters, those regular light meters. So once that's up, if it is up, click on it here, go watch. I talk all about it towards the second half of that video. blingpunjabi, great name, says, "Really looking forward to seeing your face in some new videos. A few general questions. 1, what are things new filmmakers should purchase in order of priority? I would rather save up and spend my money on high quality gear rather than buy a bunch of cheap small stuff." Okay, buy what you can afford. That's it. Buy what you can afford and just go make things. Buy what you can afford and learn what you like, learn what you don't like, and start to see if you can get some work. If you're getting a little bit of work, save up some money to buy a better camera. It's always increasing. You're not going to go out there and buy a Red Dragon package. I mean, if you have $50,000 that you want to spend, go ahead. Yes, buy a $50,000 Red Dragon package. But just buy what you can afford. Doesn't matter what it is, and just go make things. I say borrow things. Use your iPhone. If you're looking to just create for the sake of creating, use whatever you can get your hands on. Worry about image quality later on, because it's a ladder. You know, you're not going to appreciate the really high-end gear if you haven't gone through the other gear first to really go like, oh, wow, that's why this is so much. 2, what's a good workflow for backing up footage and storing it for archival purposes? I have a horrible workflow with that. Everyone's got lots of different things. You can buy a RAID system, which backs up to multiple drives at the same time. I have a horrible system. What I do is I have 2 hard drives. I consider them like, for instance, my next one is going to be hard drive 11. So I'll buy 2 hard drives. Hard drive 11, 3 terabytes. I'll buy another one. Hard drive 11, backup, 3 terabytes. Anytime I dump something to one, I then dump it right to the next one. So it's not rated. It takes a little bit more time, but it's downloaded and it's backed up. And I also edit off those drives too. But there's probably better systems out there, but they're also really expensive to get RAIDs and backups and all this stuff. So that's what I do. 3, can you tell us more about your job and the kind of work you are doing? I will. 3 years ago, I bumped into a person at a party because I was taking photos with my 5D. And they said, oh, is that what you do? Are you a photographer? I said, no, I'm actually a cinematographer. I had my iPhone at the time, had my reel on it. I was prepared, ready to go, check out my work. They saw it. Oh my God, you got to come in. This is what I do, blah, blah, blah. She gave me her business card. There's a company called Maker Studios. This is 2012. Maker Studios was a tiny company. Now Maker Studios is owned by Disney. So what I do for Maker Studios is I shoot and I edit. Full-time, health benefits, all that stuff. I'm blessed, lucky. The whole reason why I was able to do my 3-point lighting tutorial and those things is because that studio, the one that I shot the 3-point lighting one in, was upstairs from where my job was. So, and I got to know the people. So it was just good timing, and I was really lucky and all that stuff. But I also was prepared, and I also was working very hard, and I had my reel made and all that stuff. So all the little things that you do build up and can get you the next thing. I also, just this past January, opened up my own production company. It's called Rethink Films. Please check out the website, rethink-films.com. We do anything you can think of. We do music videos, we do sketches. We just shot a commercial for an underwear company that's like a commercial / a sketch comedy thing. We might be doing a corporate video. Corporate videos are usually videos that are inside of a corporation that never go outside. It's for internal use. We shot one for, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but we shot one for a big shampoo company, and we are waiting to hear back from a company that is a alcohol brand company based in Texas. So it's crazy. Eventually, I'm probably going to leave Maker, but not until I'm comfortable and not until my production company is doing well enough so that I can leave. That production company also does narrative films. We have a short film that is just about to go up online for the public called The Homeless. Once it's up, I'm going to annotate to it here. Please go check it out. It's a half-hour long. It's written and directed and edited by my business partner, Cody Busing. He co-owns Rethink Films with me. He's a great, talented filmmaker that I met while working at Maker, and we just gel. He's in the last episode of Ask Steve, so you can take a look at him there and hear him talk. You can check that out here as well. And what are our goals with Rethink Films? We want to make money. I want to make a living doing what I love to do, shooting videos. If eventually it leads me to directing and shooting major motion pictures, that's what I would love to be doing, but I understand that this is work and this is a job and it's a career, and we're just doing gig after gig after gig and hopefully doing bigger and bigger and better things. And of course, I have this YouTube channel. This is a great place to put things because it gives the work that Cody and I do some eyeballs. There's 40,000 subscribers of you right now, and that's incredible and it warms my heart. So I would really love it if a bunch of you would go and watch The Homeless, because that is a narrative film that we spent a couple of months working on and basically a whole year editing and doing post-production work on, all Cody. And it's just the best work I have personally to show. It's the best thing I've done as of right now. So please, if you want to see me doing what I love to do, go check out The Homeless. David Tougaw says, "Hi, I really like your videos. They're the most easy, understanding, and very professional. I'd like to ask you about recording professional and clear audio. Do you edit voice audio in post to make it so good? No background noises or sharp voices, etc. This is one of my biggest issues. Thanks." I do edit my audio in post. When I record it kind of low because I'm afraid of it overmodulating and getting very loud. So I usually record it so that I go like check, check, pretty loud, and I have it hit about -6 on the H4n. If you want to check out my how to record high quality audio on a budget video, you can see it here. I talk all about it. So in post, I'm usually actually raising up my levels. I usually watch my audio meter on the side, and if I see it hit the red, I go in, I make a little point, I bring that down. If I see it's too low for here, if I'm like talking kind of low for all of this, I'll go in, click where it starts, click where it ends, and bring that up. So I'll go in and just sort of, what you'll see on the timeline is like hills and valleys, because I go in there and I edit them, basically to get them high. Now that's for online videos where everything should be around the same volume. If you're sound editing a feature film and you know it's going to be in a theater, that's way different because you can have conversations that are staying around -20 and then an action sequence that's way the hell up, and you want there to be that contrast because you're in a theater and there's no other distractions to get in the way. So you can play with all of that space. But mostly for online video, for online content, I am going in and editing things and basically just making it all around the same volume. If I scream, I bring it down and it's still around 0 dB. If I'm talking too low, I bring it up, I add some gain to it, and I keep it around the same. It's just easier for someone watching an online video to not have to go, or, you know what I mean? You want to keep it the same length and you want to keep it the same volume and still have, people hear it. As for background noises, there's nothing you can do about that. Wait until all background noises go away, or pick up your crap and go someplace where it's quiet. There's no getting around background noise. Meddice, or meddice, says, "Hi Steve, thanks for this forum, mate. I live in New Zealand and want to film in the bush/rainforest. I use a Canon EOS 600. I don't know what that is. Do you mean 60D? Maybe there is a 600. A DSLR. Due to the thick forest canopy, the bush can be quite dark, even on a sunny day. My questions are about lighting. What is a low-cost and man-packable lighting system? What is the best artificial light that looks the most like natural light? I'm just making short videos to show on YouTube. I do not intend to produce super high-quality videos. Try to keep my stuff minimal and simplistic. Thanks again, Steve. Congrats on unlocking the space. Thanks." I'd say, really, buy a fast lens. I mean, you can either rent them or buy them, but like a cheap-ish fast lens would be a 50 1.4. That's around $450. The 28 1.8 Canon is really good too. That's a little bit wider. So I'd say go ahead and get the 28 1.8, get the 50 1.4. On that camera, it's probably a crop sensor, so it's probably going to be pretty tight. If you're not caring too much about super production quality, crank up your ISO. At 1.8 or 1.4 with 5,000 ISO under that canopy during the day, you should be pretty good. It's not going to be pitch black under there. So I would say worry more about getting a fast lens than a crazy contraption with lighting. Especially if you're going out there and being run and gun, you're going to have someone to hold it, and you're going to have batteries. I would stick away from that. Or get a reflector, Find the one spot in the canopy where the sun beam is coming through and get someone to hold a reflector to bounce that up and give you some fill. Otherwise, high ISO and a fast f-stop. Val San says, "Hi, I'm happy you are back. Yay! Suggestion. A video on what to buy if you are going to 1, be a professional photographer, 2, beauty blogger, or 3, food photographer." Okay. So many people want to know what to buy. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should just give in and have a whole series on YouTube that's like what to buy if, and make them quick videos. But in every single video I say, get what you can afford. No. People nowadays are serious about what they want to do, especially if they want to be a food photographer, a professional photographer, beauty blogger. So all right, no, that makes sense. I think I will do that. I'll make a series about if you're really taking this shit seriously, what you should buy. Sucks because I'm just one person. And I've never been a food photographer, so I probably don't really know all the answers to it. But it's good to think about it, and it'll make me grow. So good idea, Val San. She says, I have big windows in my house and just purchased a ton of crap, aka lighting. I will be shooting videos on my Canon T5i in front of a window. Any suggestions? How to set up 3 softboxes? It depends on what you're doing. It sounds like you're doing like beauty blogging. So I would say for beauty lighting, really for beauty lighting, it's very flat. Put the light literally right above the camera. So if this is the camera here looking right at the lens, the light should be right here. If this is the camera here, then this should be the light right here. If you really want to do 2 softboxes, then one would be here and one would be here. Problem is with that is you get shadows. You get one shadow coming this way and you get another shadow coming this way. Right now in this setup, I have a light pretty much right above the lens. It's a little bit to the left because I wanted some kind of shadows, but you center that, you'll be fine. You want 2 softboxes, put the softboxes right next to each other and still get it right under the lens. Flat lighting is the best for beauty stuff because it fills in all the wrinkles. If you still want to add some more to that, get another softbox and put it underneath the lens. Maybe that one should be a little bit dimmer, but if you have 2 softboxes up here and one up here, one under here, that's a little bit better because the top ones are brighter. What that is doing is filling in any kind of wrinkles or any kind of crap you have down here. It'd be filling in this big shadow I have right here. So basically what that is doing is creating a big ring light around your lens. 2 up here, 1 down here. They sell ring lights like that too. You can mount it in many different ways. They're pretty expensive. If you already have softboxes, 3 of them, that's what I would do. I would put 2 together above the lens and I put 1 underneath. Basically make a little hole for your camera to shoot through. Dark Raven Films says, hey Steve, so glad to hear you're back and congrats on 39K, yay, woohoo. I'm going fast because I don't have a lot of time left. For the beginning filmmaker, what would you suggest the best 3 lenses to have in your gear bag are? More along the lines of diversity to be able to capture the best quality for that pinched penny. Deep/shallow depth of field, low light conditions, close-ups, etc. I'll tell you what I had for the longest time. I had 1 versatile zoom and 1 fast lens. The versatile zoom that I used to have was a 28 to 135, 3.5 to 5.6. That lens is great because it gets pretty wide and it gets pretty damn tight. Problem is in a low light situation, that lens isn't very good at all. It's 3.5 at its maximum when it's the most zoomed out, and at the most zoomed in, it's 5.6. So at the time I was on my Mark II, my 5D Mark II, so not the best. Maybe you can go to ISO 2500, ISO 5000, way too grainy. If you have a Mark III, if you have a 5D Mark III, that son of a bitch can go up to like 12,000 ISO. So that lens would actually be pretty good on it. In fact, I've used a 70 to 300, 3.5 to 5.6 on the Mark III. It looks awesome. If you don't have that, if you're doing like a 7D or something with a little bit smaller sensor and the ISOs are a little bit too grainy, the higher you go, I would suggest what I pretty much own right now. I have a 24 to 105 f4. It's in the middle. It's not 3.5, it's not 5.6. The whole lens is f4. It's not the best in low light, no. But I use that one because it's an IS lens, so it has image stabilization, and I'm doing a lot of handheld stuff. It's very noticeable. And then I have the 50 1.4. It's not a 50 1.2, the $2,100 lens. No, I don't own the $2,100 lens. I have my 50 1.4 and it's awesome. I shoot a lot of stuff on it. If you're doing a lot of tripod stuff or if you have a really good shoulder rig that can handle handheld stuff, maybe go for the 24 to 70 2.8. That's a very expensive lens too. So I have one, well I also picked up later on a 16 to 35 2.8. So that one's pretty fast. That's my glide cam lens. It's pretty fast and it's also very wide. So, but for budget, I would do versatile zoom and a fast prime. That can pretty much get you out of any situation that you need. He says here, he also says, sorry, I should have read this before. He also said, let's add that it needs to work well on a crop DSLR and not just for a full frame. So I also agree. Crop DSLRs tend to have worse ISOs the higher you go. So the 24 to 70, 2.8 is better for that because it's low light, but you just have to be really careful with handheld. Get a monopod or get some sort of a shoulder rig if you're going to use that handheld. It's very dangerous not to use it without any kind of stabilization. Do not just hold it in your hands. The same goes for the fast prime. I like the 50 1.4. If you want something wider, do the 28 1.8. Same thing though, That will shake a lot because there's no IS. But pretty much those two lenses and you're good. The 24-70 is expensive, but you could get them used and you're gonna have it a long time. I bought my lenses 4 years ago. I still use them. I keep really good care of them. Shirley P says, what is the flash for then if you can play with the shutter speed, f-stop, and ISO settings to bring in more light to a picture? Go check out my exposure video, my light meter video. If it's up, I'll annotate it here. If it's not, stay tuned. I talk a lot about exposure and when a flash really comes in handy. So in fact, I'll link to that video at the part where I talk about where a flash really comes in handy. So go check that out. Todd Wolf. Good to see you back, Steve. I have a small space, my living room, to work with when I'm shooting my YouTube videos. I would like to use a backdrop. Most of the printed backdrops I see on eBay are for sale are vinyl. You have any other ideas that you may have? I'm afraid to use vinyl due to the shining effect from my lighting. Yeah, muslin. That's the material that you probably can't see it because it's all pretty dark back there. I mean, let me iris up real quick. M-U-S-L-I-N? M-U-S-L-I-N, muslin. It is a, oh shit, blooper. I could be wrong about this. I'm not an expert on backdrops, but I'm pretty sure muslin is a matte material that won't shine. That's why it's created. Or failing that, just look up matte background, M-A-T-T-E, background, or backdrop. Well, that's it, guys. It was a pretty long one, only from questions on one video, so that's cool. You know what I'm gonna ask for? I'm gonna say, comment on this video, more questions for the next Ask Steve. I'll answer as many as I can from this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. Please do if you haven't already. And if you really want to see some more of what I do, check out my production company's website again. That's rethink-films.com. Link is in the description. Feel free to click in the contact section of the website and sign our newsletter. Basically, it's like subscribing to Rethink Films. Whenever we work on a video and it goes up online, you'll get notified about it. We do a lot of YouTube stuff. We do a lot of cool things, music videos. So check out our newsletter and you get to see more stuff when it comes out of stuff that we do. Please check out our film, The Homeless. Link is in the description if it's up yet. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy filmmaking. Peace.